coin in Excel Week 1. And now as they enter Week 2, we're going to have to see what form they show us today.
Yeah, expecting to see a lot more out of the top lane and mid lane for XL2 players that stuck with the team over the off season, but did not get off to a phenomenal start here. So against the predominantly rookie side of the Mad Lions, this should be a matchup where Excel are favored to win, but these were two of our sort of dark horse teams, you know, we talked about during Ready Check as these potential playoff contenders later down the road, given the time to develop into strong teams.
Now we're seeing nothing too crazy coming out of the ban phase. Early Mordekaiser ban overall, but obviously a very strong champion in the current meta. Curious to see what first picks are going to look like. Excel had very unique draft priority in Week 1. First picking Braum, securing a strong pushing bottom lane with the Braum Boris, and while it did ultimately pay off for them, it was a bit out of left field, it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of Braum right now because he works both very well and against some of the meta marksmen down in the bot lane, the Sennas, the Aphelioses of the world, but I don't think he offers that much when it comes to like the engage potential. We love to see the Nautiluses and the Leona from time to time down towards bot time when you are with a team that loves to make plays. So we saw Tori go for the Nautilus himself. Kaiser was on the Rakan. On the games, they were not on Braum themselves. So that's the direction I always prefer to lean on because I really like to see when teams get proactive and make plays.
And interesting to see the Jarvan banned out so early. Obviously, Shadow had a solid game against Vitality. On it, the Syndra will now be the final ban. And I think, as mentioned before, we talked about the two sides of Excel. And the two sides where the bot lane and the jungle did quite well, and the solo laners did quite bad, to be honest, in Week 1. And we have to see that kind of adjust. With Mordekaiser banned, expect Can much more comfortably pick the Mordekaiser, as he did struggle in that matchup.
Yep, and it's going to be the Gragas here for Kadril. This is interesting. I wanted to talk about it at the start of draft here too, because last week, Kadril played a AP jungle in both of his games, while Mickey played a physical damage mid laner in both the Yasuo and the Pantheon. So this could be setting up for something along those lines. We know Mickey loves to play these, you know, melee AD mid laners in the mid lane. You remember all those highlights from 2019 last summer when he was on the Aurelia, making 1v2, 1v3 outplays in the mid lane. It gives you the ability to play around these champions, so I think a champ like Yasuo immediately skyrockets in priority for Excel when they have the Gragas.
It does, and of course, because this is happening in first pick phase, they will have the liberty to pick it whenever they want, as well as ban away potential counter picks. Interesting to see how Kadril manages to handle this jungle matchup as well. Elise generally favored early game against most champions. Gragas absolutely no exception to that. But Gragas, of course, as we get later, does become stronger and stronger in terms of what he provides to a team.
And what he provides is big team fight power, both engage and disengage next to a Zyra Khan down there too, is a very good answer, especially into someone like the Aphelios. Aphelios needs a more defensive marksman or support down next to him in the bottom lane, so the Braum could be a choice, but Braum, not a great matchup into the Rakan. Rakan never really gets CC'd by those concussive blows because he has so much mobility. He can go in and out of a team fight, so it sort of pinches down on that pool.
Said it's going to be the Nautilus lock-in. Obviously, conventionally still quite strong, but I am curious to see how the lane matchup plays out. We saw Origin do a very good job of dismantling Aphelios with the power of the Zyra Rakan. Can be incredibly oppressive if it gets any kind of lead, and generally I just think it's similar to Gragas. It's just a good all-around bot lane, and that's kind of what I feel like we're getting from Excel so far, is a good all-around composition.
Yep, definitely so at the moment. I do like what I'm seeing from Mad Lions right now, obviously identifying the similar trends that I saw in Excel with that Yasuo ban away from Mickey. Curious to see how hard they go on it though, whether or not the Pantheon is ban-worthy. I don't necessarily think so. I think that it has to be, although Pantheon would contribute to this idea of Excel just piling on bottom lane at level 6. They already have really good tower diving tools, which can sometimes be a little difficult against the Nautilus because the shields, the tankiness, the CC lockdown that he can provide, but if they're able to split the map away from this Elise, they can make those types of plays.
And it's interesting to see that most of the bans so far have been focused kind of around the mid lane in the second phase. The Yasuo's the Lucian. Of course, Lucian historically has been a top lane flex pick, but not one that we've seen recently. The LeBlanc now coming out too. So clearly both teams are willing to put a decent amount of attention around the mid lane.
LeBlanc, of course, been so good against champions like the Nautilus or the Elise. Anyone with, you know, that slow CC to come towards you can jump in the back lane, drop down some damage onto an immobile ADC like the Aphelios, so get rid of that one, no problem. And now, Mad Lions have to blind pick their top laner here. Of course, the Ornn is still open and available, but that would obviously incur the wrath of Expect if he wants to go for some sort of a counter pick, because the Ornn, while he is a fairly decent blind pick, because he's always going to provide utility, both the gold he effectively generates through his items, also the ultimate CC in fights, does have some pretty Struggle City matchups.
Struggle City.
Struggle City.
Yeah, very much so. And now kind of trying to see how they want to round out the composition. We've got a lot of engage on both sides. Rakan, Gragas, you've got the Nautilus, you've got the Ornn, as well as the Aphelios potential with the Gravitum ult, as we saw Caps use it last game. And I want to see here, Excel feels like they need at least another damage threat. The rest of the composition is most certainly up to them. What is it going to be? Patrick's playing with our hearts right now. The GP, that'd be another damage threat, a little bit safety in the top lane. We saw, you know, what Alfari could do on it. We'll see if Expect can do something similar here.
I like it. This probably means Mickey wants to go for a mage in the mid lane. I would assume, of course, you know, you do have magic damage coming out of the jungle, but I don't think a Gragas on his own is going to nearly be enough. And I remember Mickey back in the Azir Corki meta do some pretty nasty things on those champions.
And this, to me, Ender, what we're seeing right now feels like a very similar read for Excel that Origin have on the meta, which is outscale. Never mind, it's a Pantheon. All right, it's a slightly different story now.
Back to the beginning, Drake. That's what I say. If they luck in the Pantheon, they're diving bot at level 6. Now, with an added global, Gangplank up in the top lane, too, so they can pile on down here. This means around the 7-8 minute mark, Mad Lions need to be especially aware of not just where Cadril is on the map, but also priority in the mid lane for Mickey. Is he able to push out that wave and find a quick rotation down into the bottom lane? These are the things they're going to be running through their heads. And while Shadow does have the ability to make plays on this, at least in the early game, level 6 is going to be a critical moment in this game for the Mad Lions.
Most definitely will be. And there's a lot of questions for me. Most of these matchups I'm very familiar with, we've seen a decent amount of, but the Pantheon Rise is going to be an interesting one. Because just Pantheon was a champion that, as long as it was considered quote-unquote OP, which has been since its release actually in pro play, it's just been pretty much permabanned. Now it's gotten through twice into the hands of Mickey and no one else.
Yeah.
And it was, I'll say, a mixed bag. In theory, the Champions Kit's still very, very strong despite some of the nerfs that came through, but one that we still have not seen, I think, at least in the LEC, the full potential of.
Yeah, and we do, of course, have a lot of ability to play Maze. I think we're getting the Champ Select remade, so it's not going to be Rise in the jungle for Shadow. I know you guys would love to see that. He's done some crazy things, but not this time around. I would sort of like to draw our attention to the mid lane. I was just informed too, it is going to be the same picks, same bans, everything. So the comps you see on your screen right now are definitely locked in. But the one thing I did want to mention was mid lane here, because the Pantheon, a talking point, as you mentioned here, as a melee mid laner, is actually very exposed to ganks from an Elise, from a Rise you have set up around that lane. So if Pantheon is ever stepping up in the lane to farm without, you know, spamming his Q from range, that's when he can absolutely be ganked. So I'm sort of wondering if Shadow can try to sneak around this Pantheon and try to bully him a little bit in this early game.
Yeah, phase rush as well, allowing you to get in and out on those trades. And audience, I love the energy, but as Ender said, we're just gonna need a minute. Gotta do the champ select thing again. They just have to click through it though, so it should be pretty quick, but it's just gonna take a second here to get us into game. What we're doing is it's building the tension for what should be a wild game. Now, right now, Ender, when you look at the drafts, when you think about the teams that are playing, when you wave to the camera,
I hope they saw that.
Who do you think got the edge here? Who do you actually think has the edge in terms of overall drafting? If you were predicting, if you had to redo your prediction right now, who would get it?
So I think both comps do have clear ways to win the game. I think that Excel's composition is easier to execute, right? You have clear globals you can play around. You, of course, have this all-in around level 6 in the bot lane, strong team fighting with the Xayah plus GP as well. But one thing that's always going to be in the back of my mind in this game is that the Mad Lions have two ranged DPS threats late in the game. Whereas there's a Pantheon in the mid lane for Excel that's going to fall down the later we get. Rise is only going to continue to get stronger and stronger and should eventually reach a point where he is unmatchable in a side lane. Like, Gangplank can try to clear waves, but Pantheon won't be able to do that same thing. So Mad Lions do have these cross-map tools that they are going to be able to play with, on top of the fact that once Arome hits level 13, he's just going to feed, 1k bonus worth of stats into his carries to just try to pump out all the damage.
It's hard for me to know when I look at this team, because I think the thing that we've seen so far that might be a bit misleading is how successful Gragas has been overall, because I don't think that we've really seen a Gragas completely shut down in the early game yet. We've always seen Gragases kind of make it through fine, get to level 6, get their Predators, make some plays away from the Elites, but I'm wondering if Shadow, as he has shown us a decent amount of clever pathing before, can get in, can disrupt some of what Caedrel's trying to do, can start to set up his laners for success, because you said, pretty clear where he can gank, where he can go. Tons of setup bot lane. Easy setup mid lane. Top lane's a little bit harder. Oranges always are going to make things a little bit difficult, but generally, really easy setup for Shadow if he can just find a way to get these advantages in the early game.
And what I'm wondering is because it feels like Shadow always has a plan going into the game. It's not like he figures it out halfway through. It's like, as you heard Peter Dunn say, it's, oh, there's a Zoe on my team versus a Rek'Sai. I need to get Rek'Sai's flash or else my mid laner is going to die and there's nothing I can really do against it. So he goes for this, elaborate level 2 invade to try and skirmish against his opponent. On Elise versus Gragas, she doesn't really turn on until level 3, so maybe it's a little bit harder unless you're just stealing away a buff, but you're not actually going to go for a kill, be able to burn a flash, more than likely. But with an extra 4 minutes here remaking this champ select, Shadow just has more time to think through his options here and try to mastermind theory craft this early game.
Planning it out. How big brain is he? Big brain enough to go toe-to-toe with Caedrel is the ultimate question.
Caedrel's been a beast this season too.
Caedrel has been good. I think Caedrel's one of those players that has been like, he was pretty consistent last year. He's kind of felt like a safe bet coming into the season. He has so far delivered. But I think as we talked about before, the big question is kind of Expect versus Arome. That to me is the biggest, where I think we'll see the most variability.
Yeah, because I mean, Expect came in to this season, right? And we were all projecting him to be relatively highly ranked among LEC
I put him
top
on my
laners.
top 20. I really had absolute faith in Expect.
And I think if you watch 2019, he looked absolutely phenomenal. He then rolls into week 1, day 1, and gets solo killed in his very first match. So, of course, that wasn't the showing we were expecting. And, of course, long off-season, whatnot. You can give him a whole array of different excuses. But if Excel wants to make it into playoffs and try to make a deeper run, he is going to have to show up in that form that we've seen him in before.
Absolutely will have to. We are now loading into game. Champ Select was remade. The players are ready. The game is so close to being underway. I'm speaking very slowly because I'm anticipating a loading screen at any moment. It is not happening.
Keep going, though. You're doing great.
If I speak slower and I stretch out each and every word, it'll seem like I got the timing right. And there it is! I did it the whole time! Woo!
Oh!
It's like when you point at a red light and you're like, green, green, green. And then when you nail it, you're like, yeah, I did it, guys. Woo!
See, I was going to say it's more like the light turns green, one car gets through it, turns red, and you're the next car.
That's
like,
what it feels
wait a
like.
second.
It's great. It's good that we have this
And
time.
then they hand you a Kit Kat.
Yeah, that's... I gotta say, when they told us Kit Kat was sponsoring our pauses, I was skeptical. Not because I don't love Kit Kat. I was like, we aren't gonna have enough pauses. But, bless Champ Select issues. They're coming through for our friends at Kit Kat. And it was a peripheral problem. I don't specifically know what that means in this case.
He couldn't see out of the corner of his eye or something. I don't know.
Here we go. Actually, game. Welcome. It's the 4th game of the day. It's week 2 of the LEC, and it is XL versus Mad Lions. And as always, the chance. XL Esports. I can't remember if it's fa la 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 or just la la la.
It's just la 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 la.
Thank you.
Or if you're in Twitch chat, lol 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 lol.
There you go. Enter Weird Champ. A true class.
Hey, come on, man.
You have your own emote. You should be happy about it.
It's true. It's true. All right, let's talk about the game. Already like what I'm seeing from Shadow. Dude, I'm telling you, early game, I love it. He put down a ward right outside his Raptor camp, immediately recalls for the sweeper. Because let me tell you, that sweeper is going to be ready as soon as he gets back onto the map. You can see that Torre did the exact same thing. I don't believe Caedrel, even though he has a sweeper now, started with the trinket and placed it himself. He just walked out onto the map with a sweeper, so unless he's invading, that was just inefficient.
Well, but I do like that they have 3 members positioned on the top side. It does feel like the call from XL is to move in and contest a little bit, because you're not going to out-gank the Elise, but if you contract the Elise, she essentially becomes useless in the early game.
And also early level, like Mickey can take W at level 1. I actually don't know if he's skilled it or not.
Sweeping. The question is it a bluff? Are they actually going to commit to this? Or are they just trying to... Oh, they are going to commit. Shadow's going to walk away.
Yeah.
The ward is placed down. They tracked his pathing. Arome's going to know that Caedrel's there, but this has significantly delayed the Elise. And this is kind of the advantage of having the GP as opposed to the Orange. Just a much stronger level 1. A similar story for the Pantheon. They just could not take that fight.
For sure. And we talk about the Elise as having, priority in the early jungle matchup, right? She should win fights. That's a level 3, though, right?
Yeah.
At level 1, things are very different in the jungle, because Elise, she's going to start with her W, which gives her attack attack speed when she's in her spider form, of course. She doesn't have any CC, none of that. So Kadril able to walk into the jungle pretty easily. Now he's going to try a gank in the mid lane or just walk through so he can make sure he secures all of his buffs. And then the question is whether or not Shadow tries to walk all the way around, because the immediate response of your Shadow is to walk towards the enemy blue buff. But Kadril, or rather Mickey, I think, left a ward on the Raptor camp to see if Shadow is going to go for that type of a play.
And we'll keep our eyes on the jungle as Kadril will now back off, clear his own Raptor camp as Shadow, as you said, rushing to level 3, wants to get there as quickly as possible, knowing the Raptor camp is not down based on how much time Gragas took. But will be spotted on the ward. Once again, good tracking from the side of XL to know exactly where Shadow is in this early game. But there's the Pantheon one more time going in, and this might be why the champion's banned. Woo. Instant Conqueror proc. That feels so oppressive.
Those are the early all-ins right there, too. And this is what I was saying. Mickey's going to be very up far forward in the laning phase, but he can play so aggressive.
He can go for 2. He can go for 2. He can go for 2. Oh, Shadow does not want this fight. You have to get him low enough to execute him. But he loses. That's what I'm talking about. Redemption for Mickey. He just happens upon a spider. He wanted to kill him. He got one free.
He gets them both. This is what I'm saying. He loves his melee AD mid laners. It flashes you back. Oh, ball lane back? What is happening?
Is this Excel or G2? 3-0 off the bat.
Okay, we're 3 minutes in.
Okay,
we're 3 minutes in. Mickey has a serrated dark. It's over. It's over, folks. Tap him out right now. It's McGregor. It's done. All right. So Mickey walks in here, pushes the wave, and then just guesses. Oh, no, he has the ward still in the camp. And then watch this. He flashes over the wall. He's going to kill Humanoid. And then look, his passive fully stacked right now. So he just jumps on in there, gets the big QXQ damage, and then get another one. Yeah.
Humanoid. Yeah. That's a bonk. And look, folks, I'm not going to lie. We had a whole spiel prepared about Humanoid's isolated deaths because he dies isolated a decent amount. But I'm not going to count these ones against him because I'm just going to say in pick ban the Pantheon. That's what we've learned. It's been a 4-minute tutorial on why you should ban the Pantheon. That is so oppressive. Well played by Mickey, but also this is a non-interactive game for Humanoid. He is one large blue cannon creep right now.
Humanoid is not having any fun. He already has some armor in his inventory. Does he just get dove? Probably not. He's level 4. That'd be a little bit ham. You can see Shadow's trying to invade the enemy jungle. He's like, don't worry, I'm getting ahead myself. He's still leveled down, so this is not actually.
This is one of the things that we talked about, is that we've yet to see an Elise really fully utilize that early game potential into a Gragas. The knockback is there. Onslaught used. Carzzy gonna be able to get this snare here, but definitely not the ideal gun combo for extended trades.
Right, and while we talked a lot in the pregame about how Shadow has really clever, individual early game pass, one thing we didn't touch on, which Excel do a lot, and we saw in week 1, is these early game plans. And I think this comes, top down, Young Buck coming into the squad and sort of helping them craft these early game strategies, because we saw with that level 1 invade, they completely shut down Shadow. That's something Shadow did not expect and wasn't able to, adapt on the fly, maybe tell, of course, his mid laner just died 1v1 and then he got killed too.
But the damage. This Nautilus just getting absolutely obliterated. Okay. Well played by that Victoria. The snare follow-up's there for Carzzy if he wants it, but he's going to let it fall away as Humanoid forced to clear out vision. But it's a good point, because the thing that Young Buck was always heralded for, as long as he was a coach of Fnatic, were the level 1 strats. He said it was a team effort, but it was always facilitated by Young Buck. And now we're seeing the same thing on this Excel lineup. Shadow. He's going to connect there, but there's knock from Rakan. Good play by Shadow. The walkway. Patrick goes over the wall. Okay. When I said you guys are G2, I didn't mean just run it in.
And everybody out, gather around, and they're good. Okay. So there wasn't the communication there. I'm pretty sure Patrick didn't think Shadow had flash up because, of course, Shadow died in his own jungle, but he just got one shot by Mickey. Now, Mickey is level 6, though, so this is something we have to continue to track because Kaiser on his support Nautilus is level 3. Remember how we said that bot lane was diveable? With that Pantheon level 6, expect his level 6 too. You can make those plays. Mickey, however, may be looking for other options. He will get spotted out on this ward, but this is something Mad have to be so aware of. And you can already see how there are red wards in that bottom river that Mad Lions are trying to protect themselves with.
And the thing that really I think is scary now as we check in across the board, obviously a significant gold lead, almost 2K for XL. The Pantheon 3-0 up is a nightmare to deal with, but the global and semi-global pressure of a Gangplank and Pantheon, when you already have a lead, is incredible.
And right now, Humanoid, just based on the same time Mickey full pushed that mid lane wave. So while there isn't a dive happening, you can see Shadow is maybe predicting a little bit of move down here. He's sitting around to make sure the dive doesn't happen. XL do easily pick up this Ocean Drake, so it's a much lower risk play, but they are playing around the reset timers of their opponents, and they're going to continue to dominate from the center of the map outward, because right now Mickey has a full level lead over Humanoid. Humanoid just now ticked on towards level 6, so the next time Kato gets back onto the map, XL should be looking to make this ultimate count.
Oh, and you got to feel for Humanoid. He's trying to make a roam play happen. So he moves up to the top side. We'll go back to mid in time to catch the wave, but he's just so far behind. Is the Rise, as we mentioned. No one's going to be able to match him in a side lane if the game goes long enough. But right now, he's at such a significant deficit that we're going to be waiting a while before he can really go toe-to-toe with anyone, let alone come out on top.
Yeah, we're going to wait a long, long time. And even though he was walking into the river right there, I don't think he's not really ever going to be able to make a roam play happen just because Mickey has a global himself. There's a TP on that mid laner too. So Humanoid should only really be using his ultimate to react to plays that Mickey is making to try and, make up for that weakness. Because let's face it, he is going to have to take a much more defensive posture out of this mid lane unless the rest of Mad Lions are coming around, which is an option, right? You have an Ornn in the top lane, very good mid lane roaming champion because his ultimate is so long range. So if Mad Lions are ever going to make a play, it is going to be with both Shadow and Arome, I feel like, visiting towards this middle lane.
Yeah, and ultimately it feels like, once again, it is dire for the side of Mad Lions. They're absolutely not out of the game. The winner of this whole exchange is obviously Mickey. Getting the 8-minute Youmu's. He is going to run that Rise down even through Phase Rush. But Shadow is the one who truly suffers. Getting the early game champion, and now has not been able to do anything in the early game. Maybe, just maybe he can get a play here. But it's starting to feel very unlikely.
And right now he sees Kadril on that Rift Herald, or he didn't see him start it up, he saw him in the area, should be able to know that, so he really wants to make this play work. And the wave is pushing away from XL, so this is a position where Mad Lions do want to gank. If you were listening to the cast before this, Proskurin talked at depth into all the ways you can manipulate the minion waves. So right now what Mad Lions should be trying to do is keep it on their side of the map, so that Patrick and Tori don't feel comfortable walking forward because they don't have a jungler nearby them.
Yeah, and you could obviously see Kaiser and Carzzy both stepping forward very aggressively where they had been losing a lot of trades in lane. Might have been a dead giveaway that the jungler was in the area. Regardless, though, Carzzy actually doing a very good job overall in terms of CS. A 17 lead for him. Maybe now we see a bit of a more aggressive play on the top side.
I don't know about this.
In. Shadow trying to buy time, trying to back off. Can go into the air, but the knockback is there. Quick and easy dive. Mickey going to walk away. Meanwhile, the fight breaks out on the bottom side. Aphelios trying to lay down a little bit of damage. Throws down a turret, trying to deny any follow-up from the side of XL. Just a trade of cooldowns on the bottom side and an all-in on the top side results in the death of Shadow.
Yeah, so Humanoid is trying to come down here. Actually, he's just taking the Raptor camp. I go back to that play. I'm like, why is Arome going in right there? Because Mickey was absent. They didn't know where he was on the map. All they knew was that he wasn't in the mid lane. So going up there, very over-aggressive, and his jungler is going to get punished for it. At the same time, because Shadow showed himself topside, now bot lane for XL feels more comfortable to step forward. Obviously, they lost that all-in. That was not good for them, but they were able to break that freeze and can now farm relatively safely down here.
And so far, outside of the bot lane, this is just
a shellacking.
Yeah, it's just absolutely miserable. I mean, it's not quite the previous game, but it's definitely difficult. Yeah, get him, Arome. That's a moral victory. Torre, though, going to get caught out. Ulti's not going to connect, but Carzzy does not even need it. Patrick now in trouble. Feathers fly, but Humanoid's here in the bot lane. The TPs are now coming down. Mickey wants to get a kill back. Carzzy, though, caught out under the tower. Kaiser going to flash to safety. Carzzy getting the double kill. Still alive. Still has Infernum. Can finish this one off. Give Carzzy the shutdown, and they're right back into the game. Humanoid takes it instead, but that was a fantastic play from the side of Mad.
They just got everything right there. It's kick-started by Shadow running straight down into the bottom lane, knowing that XL weren't there to defend their bot lane duo, and then they're just stuck there underneath the tower, and all the stopwatches come on through for Mad Lions. They needed that play, because if they could not make something happen soon, I didn't really feel like they had an even chance of getting back into this.
Let's be absolutely clear. This was the last gambit. If this dive failed, they most certainly were out of the game, but they managed to make it work.
Yeah, they're immediately going to jump onto Tori right there, so he doesn't get his CC down onto many targets. Then, that's the first stopwatch to drop aggro. Carzzy then blocks Mickey's stun to come through, and now Mickey just doesn't really know what to do. He teleported into this fight thinking it was going to be, at the very least, a 3v4, but with multiple TPs coming on through, that fight was so lopsided, not even 5 kills could turn it around in Mickey's favor.
And while there's still a huge deficit for Humanoid in the mid lane, you can see Carzzy pulling very much ahead, almost 1k above Patrick. Aphelios is scary. A Fed Aphelios. Wow. That was
Tongue twister right there.
There you go. Even scarier. Does not really result in any greater item advantages to Dagger and Endurance currently, but finishing Essence Reaver first, getting closer to that IE, which can, of course, be upgraded by the Ornn, is going to be all too important.
So the way Shadow's been playing this game now is really interesting because obviously when your team is put at a significant deficit, you can't really walk into even-numbered fights anymore. So you see he is playing opposite map, sort of shadowed, or mirrored rather, to Kadril, or Kadril's bot side for the Dragon. Now Shadow is up here to try and dive this tower.
And now the Pantheon headed bot lane. Karzi's going to be in trouble. The Barrel's there, and he just can't do anything. He was feeling nice, he was feeling comfortable, but you're still just a Aphelios against a Fed Pantheon, a Gragas, a Xayah Rakan. We talked about this interaction in Excel. Just knock him right back down.
So of course, in order to make that work, you're the opposite side of your map. The weak side has to play back right there, and it's really hard to get away from the Cannon Barrage and the Pantheon Ultimate. You basically have to give up your entire tower in order to make that happen, and all Mad were able to do on the other side was Humanoid stole the Wolves and Shadow stole the Raptors. Well, I've got bad news for you guys. Jungle Camp's not worth a lot in Season 10, so Kadril's still going to be a higher level because he's just passively soaking up EXP from his lanes.
Now the Cloud Drake as well, the second Dragon for Excel. 3K gold lead is about 2.5 for Excel, so still very healthily in the lead, and now it's going to be Infernal Drakes. And this is excellent for them because they're already winning fights, so if they can win a few more for a few more Infernals, it only makes the game that much better. Ooh, Expect. 8-1 all-time record. Thank you, Stats team. Important to remember, Expect famously, I believe it was playoffs, made a Gangplank Pentagram to summon the... I don't know.
Okay.
Demonic. He did. He made a Gangplank Pentagram out of barrels. It's one of my favorite
not aware
moments.
of this.
It's like 2016, 2017.
I thought you were going to say Expect famously played for G2, and it's pretty easy to pick up wins when you play for G2.
He did, and he was great. He was an excellent top laner, best top laner in Europe at the time, but also made a Gangplank Pentagram. I thought that was the more interesting story.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very interesting.
There you go.
You interested me.
Thank you, Ender, for your support.
I'm no longer interested in this. Can we move along?
Yes. We'll do the play-by-play transition. 14 minutes, still 2.5K. Mickey's going to get scarier and scarier, though. The good news is Humanoid already has the Roa now completed, and the tier's been stacking up this entire game. And, of course, Karzi remains a very massive damage threat if he can be protected. So 5v5, Excel have the advantage. But still have to be careful. Have to respect the Aphelios always, especially if he drops a turret down. That ability is still incredibly oppressive despite some small nerfs on patch 10.2.
Yeah, now Excel, or rather Mickey, will be happy. He has, you know, his E shield. He can just throw up and soak up a whole lot of crescendum damage, severum damage, all the guns, the red gun, the white gun, if you'll listen to Frosk. But now as we sort of, you know, move forward in this game, turret plates have fallen down. We're reaching a map state where it's now 1-3-1 for both squads. Well, Excel just switched that up. But for the future of this game, I think we're going to see duo lanes go into the mid lane a whole lot, especially once these remaining outer towers fall. And now, what that's going to mean for the game is that you have 4 champions that have very good roaming tools, right? Range engage, of course teleports as well, random realm warps into the mid lane, you know, all sorts of stuff.
See what they do with it. Get a bit of priority. Allows them to roam over, lay down some vision.
Right.
Kaiser waiting in the brush there. But it's very clear with the Gangplank all being used that Excel are very focused around this.
Well, Excel just won this map trade because while you see bot lane, there's just all these minions dying to the minion or dying to the tower. Expect just used his Cannon Barrage to soak up top lane, so he got all the value out of those minions right here, whereas Mad Lions just effectively wasted it all. And now, because that wave was bot side pushed up and someone had to go pick it up, Humanoid without a Realm Warp, without a teleport, is bot lane while the Rift Herald as spawned, and there's no objective for Mad Lions to trade on the other side of the map. So Excel have just absolutely destroyed Mad Lions across the map. They're getting more gold, they're getting more objectives, they're getting more experience, and that's going to be good for them.
And this is the kind of trade I feel like you have to take when you're behind. Because Mad aren't getting nothing, they're just trading vision around an objective that doesn't exist for a Rift Herald.
Yeah, so I do think there are alternate plays for them, though, because Humanoid, we saw him Realm Warp into mid lane when that wasn't going to accomplish anything. It's way too easy for Excel to just clear that minion wave, even with a single player, because there are only 4 waves in it. So Humanoid could have lurked around that bottom lane, waiting for the minion wave to come in, obviously back away if there's a lot of Excel members around, but he could have still gotten those minions, and that's the trade play I would like to see. Try to give up neutral objectives if you cannot contest them, but on minion waves, trade around your enemy's windows.
Interesting, though. This Humanoid maybe not the most ideal their use of the Realm Warp, but starting to pull ahead in terms of CS. Obviously the 5 kills are more than going to make up for that difference, but the 170 to the 138 clearly very focused on taking resources, taking extra jungle camps, trying to do what he can to get back into this game as quickly as possible. And actually has almost even up the gold. Thank you, Observers, for the toggle over. The Pantheon that was so incredibly far ahead is not really that far ahead anymore in terms of just raw gold value.
Yeah, pretty much the whole gold lead for Excel is going to come through the Gangplank up in the top lane. Massive advantage up there, you know, 15, 1600 over the Ornn. But even Ornn has mechanics in his kit to make up for that. So there's a bit of a fight in the top lane.
Just doesn't.
All right.
Okay.
Sometimes you just gotta
just waddle away, Ornn.
waddle away.
It's like you can flash then, or you can flash 40 seconds later when the Pantheon is threatening to kill you.
See, I was just about to say, like, oh, it doesn't matter if Arome loses lane, because eventually he's just going to give his team gold, right? And that's going to neutralize the advantage, but lose this flash now. Of course, Excel going to be able to knock out this mid lane tower, and then transition into an Infernal in 25 seconds.
Tori's just standing right there, waiting for the engage, waiting in the darkness. The Gangplank barrel
so
hits
good
as well.
I mean, how do Matt approach this, really? You know, XL are able to walk it into the tower. Now Shadow has to jump away, and at the same time, Mickey is full pushing this top lane wave. He has the TP, so he's going to be able to get on over towards this dragon fight, and if Mad Lions contest, Arome will be forced to teleport in and then give up that full wave to the tower. So Excel are playing this map very, very smart, and even as that dragon is spawning, you see Expect is running into the bottom lane. They're very intelligent, they're thinking about their side lane waves and making sure they're wasting nothing.
Yeah, picking up a lot more CS, continuing to extend the gold lead between the top laners. The Infernal now as well, one away from the Infernal Soul. Definitely impossible for Aphelios to survive if the enemy team gets that one. Pantheon probably already one-shots him, but will definitely one-shot him, the Infernal Soul. But still, you see Kaiser, Shadow, they're stepping forward, but Mickey's going to come over the wall. They're going to realize this is not quite the fight that they were interested in. Waiting to see if Cadril is going to commit the cast just to try to force a play here, or if Excel are just going to keep waiting this one out.
Right now, Excel just want to reset. Still a minute off the Baron right now, so, you know, finish off some of those items and then try to take full control of that topside jungle. Once more, expect full pushing the wave into the side lane. It's going to cause that little response play from Arome to go pick that one up and basically make sure that Mad Lions are going to be too spread on the map to make a play, while the rest of Excel are trying to find some resets themselves. And then it's just about waiting for Mad Lions to make a mistake, I think, because once you take control of that topside jungle, especially on the Infernal map, where it can sometimes be difficult to walk forward and ward the single bush that you can be standing in, there's a lot of ground to cover and not a lot of walls to protect the Mad Lions. So champions like the Rakan can dash on in. You can look for these big ultimates from Expect to make sure that once Mad Lions go past a certain point, there is no escaping because of that giant slow field. So all these things are going to make it so that Mad Lions have to have the vision necessary, and whenever Excel go in here and clear away wards, Mad Lions are going to be spooked. They're going to be like, wait a second, could they be on Baron right now? We need more blue orbs to be able to check that pit, and right now they only have one, so I'm expecting to see someone like Humanoid switch over to that relatively soon, because scouting this objective is going to be very important.
Absolutely will be. Baron has the potential to be the final nail in the coffin in this game. Hold that thought. The engage, it feels like Mad are still constantly threatening despite the deficits they're experiencing, but Humanoid now running down to try to face Expect. The barrel setup is there. Expect going to try to find it. Here comes Arome as well. They're trying to isolate the solo lane. Already it's been... Flash comes out. Call of Forge God will not connect. And now, Tori's going to step forward. Cocoon will not connect either. So a lot of kind of fumbled engages here. They do manage to burn the Gangplank flash, but don't get a whole lot else, and that is going to give Excel priority over this mid lane.
I still like that play from Mad. Now, Arome is trying to flank on in here, but again, there's no Ornn Horn, so a fight here I don't think goes Mad Lion's way at all. They're going to have to give up that tower.
I think he's still coming in from the darkness as well.
Yeah, so I still like the initial play from Arome to go into bot lane, burn the flash. Now Expect lost his teleport and ultimate as well, so the split push would have to be Mickey in the future if Excel are about committing for a fight. Don't know about that one.
Find Patrick forcing ult for ult, though, maybe hoping that that's going to be a positive trade as Mickey spends his time focusing on Arome.
The problem with forcing ult for ult right there, if you are Karzin, obviously nothing comes out of it, so it's not going to be a huge loss. But with Mad Lions team comp, they don't have a lot of dive tools to get onto Patrick, so I don't really think that Xayah's ultimate is the make or break ability in a team fight, simply because Mad Lions aren't going to be hitting Patrick until way later in the fight anyway. So having the Aphelios R is going to be much more crucial to the Mad Lions, especially when it comes to setting up fights or around CC are really just providing the damage at the moment because they are down in just raw firepower against Excel's itemization.
True. Humanoid, though, continues his one-man mission to bring his team back into the game. 50 CS lead and continuing to grow. Gonna have to keep an eye on him in the coming team fights. See exactly what's going to happen. As you can see, it's been very much Excel favored from minute one when it came down to that very clever invade.
But we do know eventually Humanoid should be too big to deal with. Nick, he should be able to walk this one off.
How
You
far
can't commit down.
Okay. Got the flash.
So here's the thing. Mickey didn't have perfect vision inside the Mad Lions jungle. A lot of that vision is sort of snuck over towards mid lane, so he didn't know if Shadow or Humanoid were right behind the Ornn. So flashing there is the safe play. Obviously, if you have God vision, you can see everything. It's not correct. But ultimately, he went the safer route, and now there's no flash on either of these side laners. So Mad Lions continue to make these side lane plays, and because the only objective on the map is the Baron buff, and Excel aren't comfortable to just start that one up without much more information, they're just getting these like mini objectives, because that's all that Mad Lions can play for at the moment until they get more items, until they do get stronger. And as you mentioned earlier, our eyes are on Humanoid to do that, because eventually this guy will be unbeatable in the side lane. Now, of course, to sort of fix that problem at the moment, Expect's itemization is much more focused on that 1v1 against Ryze. You see, Merc Treads plus second item Mob Malmortius. I do agree with this, just to try and match Humanoid, especially as the game gets later, and Excel should have strong team fight anyways, but it will mean a drop in DPS, especially in the 5v5.
Will it cost him, though, is the big question. And it's interesting because this game felt so decided. Honestly, minute 3, I think, when the double kill came through for the Pantheon. Humanoid, though, now running. That's a lot of flashes. 2 going to be burned, but now the rest of the team can just move right in. The 80 carry and support are no longer apart. Kano's going to miss the cast completely. This is an absolute disaster. Mickey in the middle of the pit. He's going to go down. That's going to be the Pantheon. More money into the back pocket of Carzzy, but a massive barrel. The follow-up is there. The Inferno. Big damage. Can they steal the soul, though? Kadril is not alive. This one should be secured by the Mad Lions. Just like that, the Mad Lions are back. Fighting, contesting, the Realm Warp coming out. Humanoid trying to run them down. The knockup is there. Torre now coming back with the hook. Now comes in. Patrick goes in. But what goes up must come back down. But can they find the kill? No, Patrick. This is his moment to shine. The autos from Carzzy. That's going to be one picked off. 80 carry.
We can expect.
The last in the fight. Shadow definitely going to be taken down here. The hook goes wide. Carzzy and Kaiser are next on the list. And just like that, it turns right back. Such a back and forth fight. But Excel win in the end.
That's the Expect I wanted to see, baby, getting in there at the end of the team fight. That one lasted forever. It felt like, and it started with Humanoid trying to pick off Torre, who of course then gets immediately double flashed on by the bot lane of Excel. And at the top side, this is where it all looks terrible for Excel, because the cast goes wide, he doesn't land the body slam. Mad Lions immediately one-shot, or, I mean, it takes them a little longer than that, but they kill very quickly Mickey, who has almost all the gold. And then the damage comes through. How do Excel win this? Well, it's because they play the fight slow and are able to kite around the Mad Lions. Big barrels from Expect at the start zone the Mad Lions, and then as Mad Lions split up themselves, you know, looking maybe over towards Kadril, who gets bumped on towards the side, they just can't get through the barrels and the feathers of this bat line from Excel. They're too low. They aren't able to walk in and face tank all of that damage, and then Expect, you just can't beat this guy in a 1v1 or even a 1v2, because Humanoid had to run away as well.
You can see the mob proc, the extra healing coming in. This Gangplank is very functionally unkillable at that point in the fight. But what I love is the tenacity of Mad Lions in this game to try to find a way back in to force these fights. But at the end of the day, we saw Humanoid drawing so much attention. He's the guy with all the resources in his back pocket. Now Carzzy as well, but Expect justifying the amount of resources that his team pumped into him with a performance like that. Ooh. You hate to see it.
Yeah, well, they can fight now. No flash on Carzzy.
Carzzy needs to back off.
Oh, he's so dead.
Pass goes in. There's nothing he can do here. He's going to get knocked up. He's going to get knocked down. Mickey to miss the T. Excel are looking to make this one quick. 2 quick pickups, and now they can turn right back to the Baron.
Yeah, they should run there immediately. Wave not big enough to make a push in towards the mid lane, and it's just the top side of the map for the Mad Lions. And Humanoid is pushing down bot lane, so at best, he's going to be able to get this tower some damage on the next one. Excel need to start this one up, or they're going to lose a little bit.
It is a moment for Shadow, though. Realm Warp going to take 2 minions in.
No one's basing from Excel. He should get this tower, but nothing more.
5K and dropping. Shadow's going to back off. They're not even going to risk contesting this one. Inhibitor tower traded for the Baron. Infernal up in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so they will have the buff for the following fight if they want to immediately contest it. Ball definitely in the court of Excel.
any team fight in the next few minutes is going to be really rough for Mad Lions. Basically because they don't have the protection of their backliners, like a Xayah ultimate. Having all these flashes being down means you're dead. Carzzy way too far forward here, isn't able to anticipate the flank coming through from both Torre and Kato, so he gets immediately destroyed alongside his duo partner. And now, Mad Lions just have to play super far back. They have to try and play these fights as slow as possible because Carzzy just can't step forward without having that flash up. Same story for Humanoid, so it's very likely a situation where Mad Lions do end up trying to contest around this Infernal Soul, right? It's a very important objective, but it's going to be so hard to execute in this team fight unless they're able to stall it out for Carzzy's flash to be back up.
And the graph here tells you a very decisive story of the game. Not a lot of fighting happening on the side of Mad Lions. Really that one team fight where they got most of that damage down, a couple skirmishes on the bot lane. They've just been getting poked. They've just been getting ganked. They've just been getting killed. Now the entire team splitting up the map. Only Humanoid really confident enough to push forward. Everyone else with very defensive posture is backing away from a lot of these waves. Kato though potentially caught out here. The CC is good. Kato now trying to make it out to safety, but Carzzy wants to finish this one out. He has Severum as well as the Chakram. Very lethal at close range, but has no real long range or CC options. The TP now coming in, they want to commit to this. Back off, and Excel, a very confident play to keep this one going forward. They're just going to move in, they're going to break down this inhibitor. The engage, though, coming in from Kaiser. The Ornhorn coming out as well, but instantly Kaiser dies. That's the Inferno Vault, but it's simply not enough. Humanoid knocked up, taken down. Excel trying to make sure that this one is finished, but Carzzy remains untouched. Keep your eyes on Aphelios. Moving in, expect next on the menu, but it is simply just enough to finish the job, and Carzzy manages to keep the dreams of the Mad Lions alive. The birthday boy showing up clutch.
Yeah, got that big crit at the end right there, looked like, with a Molten Edge upgrade from Arome. Now, Infernal Dragon spawning in just 25 seconds. Shadow is alive, so should be able to get back onto the map to try and contest this one, because once again, at the start, it is Kaiser that finds the initiation, but it's on towards Tori, and he gets immediately exploded. And then it looks like it's all hopeless here, but they kite back in towards the Aphelios, and that's where things get really, really rough. Mickey not in a position to offer any more DPS to the fight. Sort of zoned away right there, not jumping forward with the rest of his teams. They are going to drop. Now Mad Lions have to rush this one down, I think. Expect is up in 6 seconds, but he doesn't have ult, he doesn't have TP. It could only be a steal from Expect, or from Cadril.
Calvin from Carzzy as well. A lot of extra range to keep him safe in the fight, as well as a bit more utility. Not the most damage. Can they secure this one? Can they get this one down? Aphelios gonna grab it.
Shadow didn't have Smite.
Denying
it just
the
came
soul.
up.
That's a second Infernal now for the side of Mad. They're coming right back into this game.
Yeah, and I don't know why Cadril didn't just drop a barrel on that dragon. He could have seen the HP of it, tried to get in towards the pit. Obviously, it was always going to be hard to body slam in with Nautilus trying to block him so he couldn't reach over the wall, but now without the Baron buff, it should be near impossible to knock down this tower.
Still trying to push, still trying to get more prio. Baron, of course, 3 minutes away. They can lay down a little bit of preliminary vision on the side of Excel. But it has to be a bit frustrating if you're Excel. You get the exact start that you want. Elise totally irrelevant. The Gangplank, the Pantheon start taking off. Your bot lane's doing solid, but now you're struggling to close this game out. The scaling options are still there, but it does not get easier from here, because if you mess up in a fight against a late game Aphelios, your entire team is just going to die.
Time is not Excel's ally necessarily, and also Expect just finished a Youmuu's Ghostblade in the top lane when 4 out of 5 targets on Mad Lions have already started building armor. So I don't think that's the most effective purchase, not the most bang for your buck right there on the GP.
But does it tell us that the only person they care about killing is the Aphelios?
I mean, it tells me that, but I don't think that should be too much of an issue. Like, Aphelios doesn't have a whole lot in terms of the peel department. Mickey can try and jump to the back line. You have zoning tools as well, because it's not like you necessarily even have to kill Aphelios. With a Gragas barrel, you can simply place it in the middle of the team, right? So you knock the enemy front line towards you, you burst them down. Well, it knocks away the enemy back line.
Up goes Patrick. The timing's not quite right there. Multiple ults as well as Flash Burn, and now the counter engage comes in, but Carzzy still untouched on the back line for now. Torre's going to make it out, but just barely. The ulti now coming in. Torre! Ooh! Just barely managing to live, but that's a 1 for 0. The Redemption now coming in, a bit more healing. They want to keep this push going. They want to keep Mad on the back foot.
Well, right now there's a wave stacking in the top lane and 2 super minions down towards bot side. If Excel wanted to make this rotation up after pushing out the mid lane wave, they're not quite going to be able to hit it because Mickey didn't stick up there to zone Humanoid from the wave, so they should not be able to push this tower anymore. They're just maintaining control right now, which means that Mad Lions can't get any vision inside of their jungle. And remember that it's 1 minute away from the Baron buff spawning. So that's going to be the major objective that Mad Lions need to contest. And if they can't get any preliminary vision, it's going to be really hard.
Here comes the Pantheon. All they want to die. They see Humanoid's not in the fight. Just going to force him off the tower. Going to settle for the second inhibitor. Maybe look for a Baron as a follow-up and try to close out the game. Torre playing with fire a bit as he steps forward once again. Matt, uncertain about what the next move should be. Baron 48 seconds away. Excel will have enough time to back off. Already have some decent vision set up. Can just move right onto that Baron as soon as they recall.
Mad should expect a recall right now. They have to play it pretty slow, scout some bushes with spiderlings and whatnot, but they do have the time to get that vision. And assuming this Baron does stall out, it's 2 minutes away from Dragon spawning one more time, so Excel could try to do a little bit of a trade of sorts, but again, I don't think you want to give up the Baron, because the Baron is effectively the buff that should end the game right now for Excel. Excel get that one, they should be able to push in and end it. At the same time, you are now staring down the barrel of a 3-item ADC, you know, big old humanoid in a side lane. Who can match him at this point? He's level 18. It's going to be really difficult, if not impossible now, for anyone to deal with him. So what Mad should be trying to do is try to sneak him in towards that bottom lane. Maybe even put a Rome behind him is what I would like to see in case Excel tried to make a multi-man play down there. But for now, it just seems like mid lane control is going to be the name of the game.
Ulti comes out, trading 1-for-1 with Patrick. Not ideal in terms of damage output. Shadow now in trouble.
Yeah, but now this opens up Ornn ult to absolutely destroy Patrick. He has flash, so we will have to get away from that one. But you saw last time, they tried to use them both at the same time, and it didn't quite work out. Now they have the option.
Ornn all coming out. Rise all coming in as well. Cage with the knockback is there. Humanoid stepping forward. Expect going right into the team. Torrent on the backside. Still, Aphelios remains untouched. Big damage coming in, but Carzzy going to take a lot back. We're trying to get out of there. Patrick steps forward. Patrick is fearless. He shreds through the enemy AD carry like it's nothing. Carzzy taken down. Excel take the fight.
And they're teleporting down to the bottom lane. This is going to be the end. The whole team, minus Shadow, wiped on the side of the Mad Lions. Excel, they waited for that perfect team fight, and they got it. Mickey jumping into the back line to lock down Carzzy, and that's going to end the game.
Fantastic performance from Excel. Strong start. Momentum died a little bit. It felt like hope might be alive for the Mad Lions lineup, but still, Excel find that fight, as you said. They're going to move into the base. They break down these towers. Excel proving why they deserve closer and closer to the top. From 1-1 to 2-1, one more kill to close it out. One more win for Excel Esports.
Really solid stuff coming through from Excel. I thought all the way from the level 1 that they had, you know, maybe a couple extra minutes to plan for during our pause, but they set it up so well to shut down Shadow at his own game. They were able to beat him and then carry so much of that momentum. I mean, we saw Mickey absolutely destroying out of the mid lane, and while, as you said, it did slow down for this team, they weren't quite able to finish out as quickly as they would have liked to. I thought from minute 1 to 25 and then 30 onwards, it looked great.
It was a fantastic performance. And once again, it proves kind of... Well, actually, here's my question for you.
Okay.
I don't know what it proves. Here's what I'll say. We were asking questions about Excel's solo laners before that game. Is this game enough to prove to you that Expect might still be at the top? That Mickey might be right there with
Okay, I'm like, I know Expect is still very good at League of Legends. I just thought week 1 didn't quite hit the bar. This definitely hit the bar, if not exceeded it for me. So I'm very hopeful for this team. I'm expecting to see a lot more out of this squad. And while I think consistency is the thing we're always going to be asking for from this team, we do, you know, a lot of us expect this team to be one that is making the playoffs.
Wow, yeah, it's tough. You walk into that word expect every time
you say it once and then you just cannot stop. You say expect like 20 times, which, I mean, in a game like this, you can say expect a few times.
Amazing doesn't play anymore, because I said that word 300% more when he was on stage. Key player of the game, of course, at LEC on Twitter. Expect Mickey or Torre. I'm going to say expect. As much as I love how Mickey started the game,
I hate it when people get 1v2 kills at level 3. That's just the worst, man.
I mean, that's a really good point. It's hard to debate with that one.
Like that one play, I'm just going to give it to him, you know?
It's enough. We don't need to know what we think. Why don't we hear from the coach, the man behind the genius of the early game plays? It is Youngbuck and Lore standing by.
Thank you guys, and thank you Youngbuck for joining me. Who should get player of the game here?
I think it has to be Mickey after what he did on level 3, yeah.
I gotta say, coming into this split, I thought Excel would take a bit more time before finding their form and their style, but I mean, looking like this, it feels like the synergy is there, the comps are on point. Do you agree?
Yeah, we have fantastic communication and synergy, especially our bot lane who is now new. They're really fitting in well with the team. I also thought we would need a little bit more time, especially transferring from scrim to actual stage. But it turns out we're actually doing quite well. Like I think we're transferring way more than I would anticipate when it comes to actually like the knowledge and all the muscle memory that you have to have from your practice.
I'm really glad for you guys, but because listening to the analyst desk and people on social media, a lot of people were seeing Excel as the dark horse. So do you see you guys as dark horses, or should you guys be considered as real contenders?
Our goal has always been to make playoffs, so if they don't think we'll make it, then we might be a dark horse. I do think that we have the potential to take games off of like really good teams in the top 4, like Origin and Rogue. We've kind of shown last week that we almost beat Rogue. And yeah, I think throughout the season you can see us really challenge them every now and then.
Now, a bit more about the players. I saw you guys announce Cajal as the captain of the team. So what does it mean really with his role? Is there a special connection between you and the rest of the team? Could be a bridge?
Actually, he has a very special connection with everyone because he has played with everyone on the lineup before. So he has a history with Patrick and with Tora. So he's kind of been the glue between Mickey and Expect, and then the new guys in the bot lane in Patrick and Tora.
Well, and that's a great role for him. I mean, he was shining so much last year. A bit more about you now. This new challenge, what seduced you to join XL?
I really love the idea of coaching guys that are still really hungry, are very new and haven't really achieved their peak yet, and a team where I can see that I can have a lot of influence on, and yeah, that really seduced me. And yeah, also having like some control over the roster. We had a really good synergy within the off season about when it came to bot lane and mid lane signing. So yeah, it was just a really good project for me to join.
And I'm really glad things are already working out for you guys. Thank you, Young Buck, for joining me.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a break, and coming back, it's gonna be game of the day: Schalke 04 versus Origin. Stay tuned on Fnatic.